Hey there, this is Aaron. So in this short video, what I'm going to do is download a stock image that is really somewhat of a blank canvas for us to work with. We're going to take the image and add elements to it using Adobe Firefly AI and come up with a great scene. So this is one that I had found. Nice landscape, but again, somewhat of a blank canvas for us to work with. So I've already gone ahead and downloaded that, opened it up here in Photoshop, so that I could reduce the size of the resolution and change it to screen resolution so that it processes more quickly for us here as we add our elements. So I'm picturing this as, let's turn it into some farmland. So we'll give it some depth. You can see how this line comes down like so, and the motion brings us over to here, and something is missing here. So why don't we highlight a fairly large area, and I'm going to ask it to add a forest, and we will see what it does. So something that will be interesting to see is whether or not it is going to put the forest behind the hill, which would be really great, add some nice depth. And it did that. So there's some forested area, top and bottom there. Let's try this one, number 2. And number 3. So let's look at the full image here. What do we like? 1, 2, or 3? I think for our purposes we'll fill it in a little bit up here. And now let's create a farm by adding a barn first of all. We'll add a barn. And we'll see what this building looks like. Sometimes adding an element like this, so it'll look a little bit like a photo that was cut out and just slapped on, almost like clip art, and it doesn't really work. But really one of the variations that comes up should be useful to us. So there's one, that's not too bad at all. Number 2 or number 3. I kind of like number 2. Typical barn, very common, that's great. So down here there's a little beast. I'm not sure what he is. He's pretty small, could be a dog. So he needs more buddies. Why don't we highlight a whole area down here and ask it to add a flock of sheep. We'll have that come to life for us. So much open space. We need to put something up here as well. We'll think about that for a second after we get some sheep, get some mutton on the table. I'm hoping that at least one of the variations is going to look great and also be in perspective. And there we go. It is in the right perspective, and all 3 of them are usable. I feel like the scale of these guys compared to the barn is a little bit off, and I like number 1 because it seems somewhat natural. They're spaced out a little bit, and that's great. So up here, why don't we ask for a herd of cows so that we can really get this farm going. I think that that makes sense. What else could we add to this landscape to make it really come to life more as a farm? Well, I have one idea, which is that there's some cows. Not too bad. The proportion is a little bit off though. I would say that these cows are quite large compared to the size of the field. Maybe it's the scale of the barn or that tree that throws it off. But you know what? I'm going to try that again. Try that again with a herd of cows. And let's see if it can come back with at least one variation that is more of an appropriate scale to our sheep, the barn, the tree, and really the rest of the surroundings as well. If they were hanging out just on that hill and those other elements weren't there, it would make sense. So here they are on versions 1 and 3, farther in the background, and it does seem to make more sense. So we'll take number 1, and we're happy with that. So I was thinking that we should have add a road so that we have something leading to our barn. That should work out well. Up in the top here, there's a whole lot of blank canvas, and I have an idea for that. So we have some vehicles that showed up. 1, 2, or 3. There is a road over here that you can see, but even without the road, I kind of like those vehicles being there just because it brings something else over there and makes the barn seem more realistic. So I'm thinking up top here, why don't we have it generate forest for that whole area and see what it comes up with, because that could just visually finish off the top of the image up there, or it might give us an idea of what else we can add in that spot. It's coming to life though. We started out with a blank canvas, and so far we've added 5 elements to it, and it's starting to pop out. Okay, so that's looking like more of a realistic landscape, isn't it? And a lot more depth, completely changes the scene. Our other variations, 1, 2, or 3, this looks like a, this forest I think looks more natural. That's what I would say. So let's leave that like so, and way off in the background, I'll make it fairly small. Let's add a windmill. Now, I feel like this is a challenge, because that's a fairly unique object and it needs to be put in the appropriate scale back in that area of the photo. That actually works out really well. I was thinking it might be too large, but let's check out these other options. Number 1 is great. So there you go, folks. What do you think of this scene? We started out with just a blank canvas, and we've added several elements to it that have brought it to life and turned it into a landscape that could almost be a picture or painting. There you go. I hope you had fun, and I'll see you next time. Have a great day.